steak. All right, we want to thank all of you for being here today on this Memorial Day afternoon. Sine die for us, the last day of the legislative session, the regular session, it turns out. We want you to remember that we understand and remember that this is a special day in our country for the day we honor those who give the ultimate sacrifice and defending the country that we have and enjoy and the freedoms that we enjoy, the ability to be here as a legislative body, making decisions for the folks back home. So we want to make sure that folks back home know that we're keeping that in mind, even though we're going through this process here. We have finished up our regular session today. We were sent up here last November with 101 Republicans, and I think this session we have proven that we have met the challenges that have been given to us by our voters. They want us to come up here and balance our budget without raising taxes. They want our state to continue to grow economically and provide jobs for our citizens. We've taken a number of measures to help ensure that. They want integrity at the ballot box. We've taken a number of measures to ensure those types of things. The main thing that we've done as a state is to make sure that Texas leads this nation as well as the world in job creation and being a fostering environment that creates those types of jobs. It's my pleasure at this time to recognize our Speaker of the House, Joe Strauss, that he's going to go talk to the governor about what's coming up tomorrow. And at this time, we recognize Speaker Strauss.
Thank you, Larry. I should say goodbye and hello. I did just hang up with the governor, not abruptly, not unfriendly, but with the unfortunate news that despite the excellent work that the men and women standing behind me did over the last 140 days, the work of this legislature is not yet complete. The House did its work and did it very well. We showed great discipline. We showed great focus. We worked incredibly long hours under some very difficult circumstances this session. We are all 150 members of this House are very tired. But I think we should all be satisfied with a job well done in the Texas House. We completed our work. We passed a balanced budget. We did all the things that were required of us, and we did them well. But starting tomorrow, those things that weren't completed throughout the process will begin anew. And it's our hope, and I think the governor's expressed hope to me in our conversation, that we won't be here for a terribly long time. But I'm very proud that the men and women back here will, and I'm confident that they will continue to show the commitment and the focus and the fiscal discipline to make the hard choices that we have made over the last 140 days and live up to the promises that we made to the people of this state. So congratulations to Larry, Kelly, who did a fantastic job with the caucus, to really everyone of the 101 Republicans who are represented by the men and women behind me. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow morning. There's a certain person in the middle office I have to go see.
Also, just a couple other members we'd like to hear from today. Myra Crownover is our Vice Chairman of the Republican Caucus and also run the conference on the budget. So Myra, if you come up here and give us a few words.
You know, it was no surprise to us when we came into session back in January that we were dealing with the budget in unprecedented times. I think the members of the Appropriations Committee knew the task before us. They knew the challenges that were ahead. They knew that there was no appetite from the voters or fellow Texans for raising taxes. So we knew that we had a challenge, and I respect the work that they have done very much. I think it was a very disciplined, very responsible, very hard-working group, and I want to applaud the effort. And I think we have done a good job in the constraints that we were given. There is a reduction in all funds budget by $15 billion. That's an 8% reduction. There's also a reduction in also reduced our general revenue last time by over 1%. So this is an unprecedented time, and we are dealing with it in a responsible, respectful way. I think the good thing about the way the Appropriations Committee worked was that everybody there understood this wasn't money that fell from the sky or that would automatically be punished. This was money that came out of taxpayers' pockets. And I think that was a very honest, very appropriate approach to take. One of our biggest priorities, of course, was public education, and we were actually able to increase that funding slightly from the 10-11 budget. Higher ed, we restored community college funding to the 10-11 level of funding. No, I'm sorry, that was community colleges. Was restored to the 10-11 level. Higher ed was only cut by 4%. Health-related institutions were increased actually by 1.6%. And something that was very precious to all the members of the Appropriations Committee was the Texas grants. And although they are reduced by 10%, we were able to fund them at the $560 million. And that represents funding for 77,000 Texas students. The budget was also we worked very hard to protect our nursing homes, and we have $219 million for border security. So it has been a hard task, but I think under the parameters that we are given, we have done a good job.
Thank you, Myra. We also have Chairman Creighton, who is a chairman of the committee, took on state sovereignty issues, also on the board of the caucus. Brandon, you share a few words with us.
Thank you, Larry. I was asked to give a couple of brief comments on our accomplishments with lawsuit reform and also efforts through the Sovereignty Committee speaking out against federal overreach, especially with unfunded mandates that come down to Texas and put pressures on us as we struggle to balance a budget with all of our different priorities within that budget. Those pressures are very difficult as we have new federal laws enacted, but they don't send the cash along with it. I want to first start with lawsuit reform and mention that there's no one can dispute that in challenging economic times, financial resources available to businesses and families means everything, and so do jobs. And I think that House Bill 274 will bring about some of the most significant tort reform that we've been able to pass in at least the last 10 years, maybe longer, working towards further reducing the costs that are involved for plaintiffs and defendants in the civil justice system. And what that ultimately will mean will be more revenues for small business owners, which are families across the state that struggle to keep their doors open each and every day, and that is a direct impact on those families. So it's proof that Republicans' endorsement of tort reform was great for Texas, and it's clear that in the past decade, Texas' economy has outpaced the rest of the country. The Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that we have added nearly 1 million private sector jobs, and the next closest state shows barely 100,000 new jobs in the same period. Texas is excelling in job creation ahead of our sister states 10-1, and much of that is attributed to tort reform. I'm thankful for the Republican Caucus and all the work these individuals with me here today that have accomplished such. For the State Sovereignty Committee itself, we had measures come out of that committee from environmental to education to banking reform to the healthcare compact on the healthcare side and the Healthcare Freedom Act as well. We had so much success in the House with each of those measures, and specifically with the healthcare compact, I think you will find that we will continue to have much more discussion on that particular measure that was within Senate Bill 8 here in the next few days. I want to thank Representative Dan Flynn for his measure relating to the Dodd-Frank Act, the federal takeover of our financial institutions, and again compliment Chairman Colcourse on her efforts with the Health Care Reform Act. And again, I want to mention all of my colleagues in the Republican Caucus for bringing these issues to the forefront for what we find to be the top priorities of Texans. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brandon. In our last speaker, those of you who are watching the floor today, we named our Republican Freshman of the Year today from our caucus, and as you know, we have a large crop of new freshmen this year, so we had a lot to choose from. We had a great group of folks. But our Freshman of the Year for the Republican Caucus is Jose Aliseda.
We had a very large freshman class this year, 32 if you count the retreads, and that's about a third of the entire Republican Caucus. And most of us campaigned on a very conservative message, fiscally and socially conservative, and I think we've gotten what we wanted done this session. We got voter ID done, we had some pro-life legislation done, we had some eminent domain legislation done, we were very pro-business, and we got that done, and I think we passed a very conservative budget out of the House. Too bad it didn't go past the Senate, but we're ready to start working again. I think we're ready to go forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you. You know, this session, we came here, I heard from many folks who've been here for many, many years that this was going to be shaping up to be one of the toughest sessions ever. And I think that's proven to be true, but I think this group behind me has shown that we were up to the challenge. With 101 Republicans, we took on a budget that was unforeseen or unheard of in previous history. And I think we've met that challenge with a prudent, responsible budget for this state to move forward. We didn't increase taxes, which is one of the worst things you can do in a down economy is increase taxes on your businesses and on your citizens. We've done some additional tort reform to help in those areas. We've done election reform. And I think the people of Texas will be proud, considering the situation we were in, how we've handled that. And we've done our best for public education. The cuts are much less than what we started at the beginning of the session, which is what we said. If you'll remember, when we passed that budget, we said this was lean, but it's going to get better, and it did get better. And I think the public schools have been working towards this budget at a much worse scale than we're working towards, and now I think they're going to see the impact being a lot less than what they anticipated. With that, we'll open up for a few questions, and then we're going to get ready for tomorrow's beginning of the new session. Yes, sir.
Looking ahead at 2013, what are some of the challenges we'll face, and what should the state be doing to prepare for 2013?
Well, 2013 is 2 years away. The main thing we need to be doing as a state, and I think what we've done as a legislature, is to get this state out of the economic morass we find ourselves in. I don't think this was brought on by the state of Texas. I really think it came from the federal level down to us. We've been doing the right things in Texas, which is why I think we're doing better than most other states during this economic climate. But we've done the things we can within this legislative process, and we'll do in the next special session to make sure that we continue to be the leader and come out of this economic recession first.
What are some of the items that you, as the Republican Caucus, would like to see on the call for this special session?
Well, obviously, we've got to finish the budget. That's our first and primary goal of being back. I think there's Texas Windstorm Insurance Association is going to be up. There were a couple other bills. I'll throw some names at SB 23 and SB 8. SB 8 was on the floor last night when we hit midnight. SB 23 is worth approximately $400 million in the state budget. That's something that needs to be taken care of. 26. Oh, HB 6. Yeah, so we have a number of issues. You know, it's up to the governor's call what he wants to include in there, but we certainly will be lobbying. And even once he starts the special session, he can add things to that call, and I'm sure we'll be working on the types of issues that we'd like to get done. I will tell you this, I think the Democrats have made a bad strategic move. You know, they could have made a deal on a number of issues, and we could have been done right now. But they've chosen to make us come back in special session, and there's a lot of, you know, the 2/3 rule will probably not be enforced for this special session, and I think the negotiations will be a lot harder for them during the special than they would have been if they'd gotten it done during the 104 days we were sent up here to get things done.
Would you like to see sanctuary cities put on the call?
I think sanctuary cities very likely will be included in that call. Yes, sir.
Any other immigration legislation that you'd like to see included on the call?
That's all I'm aware of at this time. Like I say, once we get into it, we'll see. You know, we would like to make this a pretty quick session. People are ready to go home. It's been a long, hard 140 days. Like I said, it's one of the toughest sessions ever. You know, we haven't even talked about redistricting. This body, for the first time in 20 years, handled their state house and state senate redistricting. We got the State Board of Education redistricting done. We've not got congressional redistricting. That may be something else that's part of this call. I personally hope we get that done. I was here, we took us 3 special sessions to get congressional redistricting done. I'd like to see us do it again in 1 special session.
Did you have a conversation with the governor about sanctuary cities? You sounded pretty confident just then that it will be on the call this week.
I didn't say I was confident. I would like to see it there, and I think it has a pretty good probability of being on it. I have heard that through other sources.
With Republicans so firmly in control of the Capitol and so many lingering issues, do you risk looking like Republicans just couldn't get the job done?
I think if you look what happened, you guys are insiders, you know how this works. We got it done in the Texas House. They had problems on the Senate where the numbers were more close, and they had the 2/3 rule. But if you look at what Republicans had total control of, we got it done. And now with the 2/3 rule being phased out for the special session, I think you'll see us get it done on those other issues in the Senate as well.
One quick session, is there a need for additional debate hearings on school money?
Oh, absolutely. I think this, you know, it was unfortunate the way it worked. You know, and I've been here, this is my 5th session, and you know if you've been here, it always gets piled up in the last couple of days of the session. And this time, unfortunately, the way the school finance worked and all the budget, it did get pressed at the very end. So I think it's actually going to be an opportunity for us to have some meaningful time to discuss that issue and have some more input from our folks on the call, which is always a good thing for us. We don't like to make decisions.
When are y'all coming in tomorrow? 8?
Why don't you come at 8 and we'll show up whenever we get here? You know, we don't normally start at 8, but I heard people talking about 8 o'clock. That's not my favorite time of day. So I'll be rolling here about 9:30 or 10. I'm not sure what time it is. We thank you very much. We appreciate it. You have a good day. Enjoy your signing down.